So today we'll talk about modules, classes, and exception handling. Okay. Normally we don't require to know OOPS in Python like Python automation for storage, but I will still teach you a few things because every time we call a function, it's basically we are calling objects of a class. Okay. So before that, we'll talk about modules. So Python modules. What are Python modules? So Python modules is basically, it's like we are creating functions, classes, variables, constants, everything right in a file. So this file is called a module, okay? And we can access this, module, right? We can access this module in some other file or in some other script also by importing that module, okay? So that's normally we do in storage automation. We'll normally do that. We'll import the things, okay? Let me show you this, okay? So we have a built-in module, math. So I will import that. I will import the math module. You can call it as function also, okay? And I'll print out something. One second. Square. Right. I will call the function, okay? So we are importing the math module and we are actually calling this function or this package math, the squarity. So this squarity is part of the math module, okay? And I will do square of let's say 100. Okay, let me print it out. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, so the square root of 100 is 10, okay? So here what we did, we have imported the math module here, okay? So this is what we did, So basically Python is having lot of built-in modules. Just to remove that. It's not opening anyway, it doesn't matter. Let me open something. Keep changes. So we have lot of inbuilt functions in Python. Inbuilt functions, okay? Like normally if we want to do something with the OS, then we can use the OS module. And then we have lot of different modules like, you can use this random module also, like random integer you want to do, right? So we did random int, right? Random integer, rand int, right? And we have the sys module, okay, for playing with the system, like system models. We have this, and when you want to play with that REST API, like you have your web app, and the web app will have some HTTP requests, right? For you'll have this thing like get is for read, okay? Delete is for delete. Update is for updating the objects, okay? So these are the things, and patch is also there. So these are the things basically. Some HTTP requests are there when you want to handle your web APIs, okay? So this request you need to send it to your web app. Get request means you will read these things. Delete means you delete an object, okay? Patch is updating an object, okay? So like that you will do. So normally it will be update. For patch is normally for the REST API, then called as patch, but normally it will be update in normal REST API, normal HTTP request, okay? And also if somebody, like you have some automation team, right? Automation means not automation, I would say some testing team, right? So they will use that unit test these modules, okay? They'll use unit test modules. You will see some jobs opening in Naukri. There they will see that unit testing of Python they are recording, right? So that is the thing. So these are all inbuilt modules, okay? Inbuilt functions. For user-defined functions or user-defined modules, what you do is we'll create a text file with .py function, .py extension, and there will contain all the codes like functions, variables, classes, and then we'll save the file, and then we can call it, and then we call it from some other file, okay, some other script, okay. So let me show you how to create a Python module and how to import that module. Okay. So let me show you how to do that. These things we'll be doing during our REST API classes, which I'll be doing in the next week. Okay. And then once that is done, then I will start with Ansible, and then I will explain automations using Ansible for NetApp, Hitachi, Pure, and PowerMax. Okay. And in future, like in next batch, I'll also include Terraform and CVO. Okay, because we cannot do Ansible with CVO, and with Python it's little difficult to do. So let me have function hello function, hello model. So I'm creating hello function here. Okay. Okay. And here, dot format, initially the first class I told you, right, dot format, if you want to include a variable in strings or something in the then you have to text, like you have to include the text, then you have to pass the variable in text, then you have to use the dot format, right? So here we can pass the variables that we have, name variables. Okay. And then we can return the thing, we need to return it. Let me give it, so I see an error here, so let me just, sorry, control Z, control Z, control Z, sorry, let me just give to return. Okay. And let me save this, save it. Okay. And then let me import this module. Okay. Import, what is the name of this? Test, sorry, import test. Okay, I'm not able to do that. Not in Python extensions.
Will you will have to type prompt test. You have to import hello, right?
What is saying?
You have to import like prompt test dot py. You have to import hello. But if you import test.py is not the module, right?
No, test is the module, right? It's a function, right? It's a module only, right? So we have saved in this, like in this file. So test is this form. See, if you have many functions in that module and you want to just import one specific function, right? Then you have to do from test import hello, like specific
Okay.
functions.
Okay.
So this will work, but this is because it's not, the terminal is with a problem or something. Let me, Python is there the here. Split terminal, kill terminal, is terminal. 1 second. Import is not as similar. Yeah, it's coming as PowerShell here. I don't know why. Oh, got it. Yeah, I got it. Why? Let me go to that file. Where this file is. What is the location of the file? Open folder. This is the location. Okay. That is location is fine, but yeah, this is fine. That's not a problem. Mm, okay. Mm. Problem is, the problem is when you are referring to this function, right? C user doyle, right? So I need to have that this thing there. Python is there and here this is there. Okay. So if I go into something else like this, cd dot slash cd C users downloads. This is not working. Okay, downloads C users. Okay, see, okay, I'm not in there. Okay, cd downloads. Okay, cd task. Okay, import test. Okay. Because the path is correct and try again. So I probably have to use this. I'll check this on. Okay. So probably have to use this and see if the environment variable where it is the Python is and whether it's not able to do that. So that's another problem. So basically the idea is, when I show in the REST API, right, it is very easy to do. So basically the idea is, what you need to do is, the main idea that I'm trying to show is, you need to just have this file stored in a, in a script, like, you name the script like something like test.py. Okay. And then when you go to the Python terminal, then what you need to do, you have to import that module. Okay, this is a module, this test.py is a module, so import test you have to do. And then if you try to run this, right, like test dot, this is the function you need to write. Okay, this function name that you have is, right, so here you have the function is hello, right, and then you need to pass that the arguments here. Okay, like if your argument is like Shiva, okay, Shiva, so at that time it will say here, this will have an output like hi Shiva. Okay, like that it will come. So you are saving this on in a Python file, and then you are calling that module, and then you are doing module dot the function. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. So you are importing the module. Okay, so where basically what you are doing, we are importing. So you can also do this, or you can do another thing, that is you can have this file, and then without the terminal also, what you can do, you can have another file created, and there you just read this thing, and then you can have more functions, own functions. So this will become a main function, and there you can have anyway, you can define another functions here which will do something. Okay, like that you can do, you can import the things. Okay, so basically in Python, when you do like for NetApp, right, we do a lot of things. Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, let me continue it again. Okay, so here I can see here, right, so what you need to do here, so here in Python, right, we'll have different functions. Okay, different functions that you need to do in REST API. Okay, so suppose you are configuring NFS. Okay, NFS in Python, then you will have different modules like ARG parse. Okay, that's a module you'll have. Okay, so ARG parse you'll have. So here this module, right, so this ARG parse, what it is doing, it will pass the command line arguments. Okay, this is for to parsing or to sending the command line arguments. Okay, this is a module. Okay, and then you have many more things like this, not only, and you have like get pass will also be there. Get pass, that is another module, get pass. So here this is to process the password, like to log in, to connect to that NetApp storage. Okay, so we'll have this module which will put in the file. Okay, get pass. Okay, and then you will use this another module which is a logging module. This is for debugging. Okay, like if you have any error or something, then we can debug from there. Okay, so these are the modules we'll do. Okay, and there are many other things are there, like if you want to import some modules, right, so you have one more thing. There is a one collection in NetApp, that is netapp.ontap. Okay, and we'll import like host connections, like when you want to do connection with NetApp, then we'll use the host connection. Like whenever you are creating a web app, right, the first thing you have to do is you have to connect to the database where you will write all the changes. So in REST, like in Python situation, like sorry, in NetApp, you have to do the storage is the database. So here we have to do host connection. This method we need to import from one collection, the netapp.ontap. Okay, and then we will do that. And for REST API handling, like some exception error handling, then we have another thing like NetApp error. Like there are a lot of different things are there, different modules are there, which I'll show you. Okay, and on one, you don't have to remember the things. Sometimes you have to copy the codes also, little bit load. You have to just understand the code so that you can change the code. Okay, to your environment, according to your environment. Okay, so that is something there. So here what you are doing, basically we are having a module, like we are creating a file, and then we can create another file, and there we can import the thing, okay, like import this we can do, okay. So these are the thing you are doing. So basically you are using the import keyword to load this Python object, from this module, okay. We are doing this, okay. This object can be, it can be just a function, it can be just like a function, it can be a class, it can be variable, it can be anything, okay. Okay, suppose this module, right, it can have like a lot of things, like if you see right here, instead of this you can have many things, like you have some file like module, like mod.py say, okay, and you'll have different definitions, like definition sum, okay, colon, and then you'll have something, let me say pass, okay, definition sum to, or maybe mult, okay, and you have something, okay, like this you can have something, and then what you need to do, you can import this module to do your work, okay. Okay, and whenever you want to see what are the modules are there in the function, right, what you need to do in the Python terminal, right, you just need to run that python dir and then the module name, that's it. The module here is test or mod, okay, and then you will get all those functions printed out here, whatever is there. And suppose you want to call this function, right, this sum function, then what you need to do, this part of mod py, right, so mod this module, right, so what you need to do, you have to import it. First you need to import it, import mod, okay, and then you can use this like mod dot sum, okay, and then you can pass the the digit here, like you are 1 to 2, whatever you want to do, okay. So here if you see x comma y, you have to give this, okay, and then it will call this, right, and it will do that, okay. You can call it from some different files also, or terminal also, you can do those things, okay. That is possible, okay. And suppose what you are doing, suppose you are printing out, like you want to, there are many things like here sum, multiplication, but you want to only import that sum thing, right, sum module, right, and then what you need to do, you'll do this from mod is the module name, mod.py here, okay. 1 second, sum mod, okay. So you are doing from mod import sum, okay, that's what doing. And then you can do your thing, like you can do like print, you can do like print dot format, anyway it doesn't matter. So sum, you can call it here sum, okay, you can print it out, okay. So here this is separate code, this is separate code, okay. So from mod import sum, and there you can print it out like here 3,4, okay, like this we can do. So this is very easy, and this is same thing we'll be doing during our Python classes, okay, REST API classes, we'll do that, okay, that's not a problem, okay. So let me talk more about classes. So basically we'll not use that much OOPS concept in our storage automation. We just use the functional programming here. So basically OOP is basically, it's another like there are two things, we have functional programming, we have object oriented programming, okay. So OOPS is basically another programming paradigm, okay, where everything is objects, okay, everything is objects. So OOPS we have many things like attributes, methods, properties, everything, and all are assigned to objects, okay. So in OOPS, whatever information is there and like function can perform, we can also perform with classes, okay. So basically what is class? Class is basically a fundamental object, in the OOP programming, okay. So class is basically a blueprint of your object. Suppose you have a you're building a building, I would say you're constructing a building, okay, and you have a map, okay. So whenever you have the map, when you are reading through the map, right, you'll see that how the house will be formed, right, where your kitchen is, where your room is, where your dining room is, right. So and you can use this same map to create hundreds of buildings, right? Okay, so this map is basically your class, and the other things like what you are creating, that's are objects of the class. Okay, so what you are creating, it's like you can say like attributes or objects. Okay, so if you let me show you here what I'm trying to mean. Suppose I want to create some classes, right? So first you have to use the class keyword. Okay, and then you have to give camel casing. Okay, camel casing means like this, like first uppercase, then lowercase, and then uppercase and lowercase, like that. This is a camel casing. Okay, and then you can give your all statements here, every statement here you can give. Okay, like this is a class. Okay, like in function we used to give def keyword, right? But in class, to define a class, we're giving the class keyword. Okay, and in function what you are doing, before we call the function, we're declaring the function, right? So in classes also, before we call the class or the objects of the class, we have to declare the class. We have to first declare the class definition. We have to create the class definitions. Okay, so that's what you need to do. Okay, so whatever statements we put inside the class, right, it will be same like function definitions. Okay, but we'll have more complexities here. Okay, and then you will have like class objects. So there are one thing you will have, which is class objects. Okay, so basically class objects, there are two types of things will be there, like attribute. Okay, attributes will be there. Okay, let me just simplify it. Okay, let me simplify it so that you can understand the things. Let me first write it down something. So let me take the class name as person. And then, so we are creating a class named person, and then we are creating class attributes. Okay, so to create class attributes, what you can do, we can define this here, like, so whatever thing is the name equal to check some other name, Ranju Gautam. Okay, Gautam here. Okay, age to 28, gender, role equal to okay. So here initially what we did, we created a class, and then we are creating class attributes, means just variables of that class. Okay, and then these are class attributes. Okay, the variables that we define inside the class are class attributes. Okay, and then we can create class methods also, like class functions, we can say methods. Okay, so for that what you need to do, here only I need to go stand, so self standing. Okay, so just one class we are saying here. So here the thing, what is happening here, so here in this script, right, what we did initially, we created a class with person, and it has three class attributes. Okay, and one method. Okay, so these attributes are like name, age, role. A method is stand. Okay, so this class method, right, these methods are basically nothing but their functions, but they are defined inside the class. That's why they are called as class methods. Okay, so here the first parameter this class method will take, right, it will always be self. So class method will take the self as the first parameter by default. Okay, this self, what this self is defining, that that it belongs to a class. This method belongs to a class, so that's what it mentions, right, self. So if you want to, suppose you have some variables here, right? একটু দরজাটা বন্ধ করে দাও না, প্রচুর আওয়াজ আসছে. Suppose we want to print out some, like we have to reference some variable, right? So you have to like self dot this, self dot that. We have to reference. Let me just drink some. So we have to reference the variables, like the variables that are part of that class, class method. If you want to reference it, then we have to give self. Okay, self dot something. Okay, like that we need to give. Okay, so classes are basically blueprints, means like map, like with classes you can create many objects. Okay, like one class can have hundreds of objects. Okay, in Python everything is object. Okay, so there are basically two types of object there in Python. One is built-in objects, otherwise another one is custom objects. Okay, so basically your data types, right, whatever primitive data types you had, those are basically built-in objects. Okay, suppose whenever we are assigning an integer to a variable, we are basically referring the integer object only in the variable. Okay, suppose if you are doing like this, here when you are doing age, right, age equal to 28. Okay, and if you just give type of age, then you will see that integer will show. Okay, integer object will show. Okay, the integer. So this is nothing but it's an object. There is a class, integer class, and from there we are getting this. Okay, everything here is class. Okay, integer itself is a class. Okay, so these are all built-in classes: integer, string, math, calc, this sys module, os module, PyTest, which is for testing, like for testing team they will use Selenium testing, like that. Okay, so even when you are working in storage, still the storage tool you get, right, like for EMC, not EMC, for Hitachi you get like HCS used to get long time ago, Op Center, those things, right? So somebody will always do the testing, right, Python testing. So for that they have some unit testing modules, like for PyTest, something like that. So everything, Python is having a lot of built-in objects, built-in classes. Okay, but normally whenever we are working on, we are trying to create some new code or something, we need to create our own classes, own objects. Okay, so basically those are called as custom objects. Okay, so custom objects are nothing but that reference to a, like that are inside of custom classes that we create. Okay, so here we created a class like person. This is a class, custom class. Okay, and then we created object of the person class, right? Like we have to create we did not create. So here these are like class variables. Okay, these are like class attributes, you can say, and this is like class methods. But we have to, if you want to create an object, if you want to call that class, right, if you want to reference this or do something with the class, right, you have to create an object of that class. Okay, you have to create an object of this. So how do you create that? The way to create the object of this class is you have to call this class. Okay, like you call the function, right, similar to here, like person1 equal to, you just give here person. Okay, and then you can just so you are calling this. So here what you are doing, we are creating a object here. So what we are doing here, we are simply writing the name of the class, and we are actually and we are closing this, like we're following up with a parenthesis. Okay, and then we are assigning it to a variable which is named as person1. That's what we are doing here. Okay, now this person1 is now become an object using which we can access all the class attributes which are this, and methods, class methods. Okay, so what we are doing here. Okay,
Can you show the example? How do we do it?
yeah
Is it working here or?
yeah so let me do that. Okay, one second. So person1 this, so let me just type out, one second, clear. Yeah, okay, no problem. So we created a class here, no problem. Okay, so let me just, okay, so here we created this attribute, like we created an object here. Okay, but we have to access the class attributes, this class attributes and also the methods, class methods, right? So what you need to do here, to do that, here we create an object. To do that, we can create another variable, okay, like name or something, name one or something we'll create, okay. And then this is an object, person1 is an object, okay. And here what we have, here we have a variable name, right? And we want to reference to that variable, so use dot, okay. So what you are doing to access this class attributes or method, right? So I have to use the object name, this is object, and dot, and then we have to give the attribute, this name of the attribute we need to give, class attribute, or the method we need to give, okay, to access the either class attributes or the methods or the informations inside the class method, okay. So let me do that, okay. And then what you do, we'll print out this variable here, okay. So we'll get this name here, your name I will get, okay, Gautam. So your name I'll get, okay. 1 second, name 1, type it out, Gautam, okay, like the reading. And suppose this is class attributes we got. Suppose I want to reference, or I want to access the informations inside the class. What is happening? 1 second. That's good. Yeah. If we want to reference to the methods, class methods, right? Then what we need to do? We can also do that, okay? So what you need to do? We have to reference to this method, okay? So we know the object is there. So what is the object? Person1, okay? So let me just do that. I want to reference to here, which is this stand method, okay. So let me do that, and this will print out this, okay. It will access this and it will print out this, okay. So the object name is person1, and the class method name is, what is the class method name? Stand, okay, stand. Let me type it out, okay, Gautam. It's not coming. 1 second. Person1, oh yeah, sorry, stand is there, yeah, yes. I have to close with parentheses, otherwise it will not work. If I don't close with parentheses, it's just creating, it's not creating it, okay. So now we can see here, okay, person standing. So here what we do, we actually created the attributes like name attributes, different attributes we created, right? Name, এবার ইন্টারনেট চলে যাচ্ছে কেন? ইন্টারনেট চলে যাচ্ছে কি করলে? Yes. So yeah, now you're back. I think now we are back. Okay. So you missed one minute, right? So let me show you. 1 second. So here what we did were, initially we created a class, and then we created class attributes, then created a class method, okay. So here we created an object, we gave the name of the class, and then we closed with parentheses, we created an object, and then to access the class attributes, we gave the object name dot the class attribute name, and we assigned this to a variable, and then we are calling that variable, like we are printing out that variable, okay. And for same thing, like to access the class method, what you are doing, we're using the object dot the class method, and then whatever there is a class method we are printing out. And if you want to access, do something also, we can do like that also, okay. So here we had the attribute, name attribute of this person class, okay, name attribute of the person class Gautam, okay. So we assigned this to a variable, okay, and then we printed out the variable, okay. So that's what you did, okay. So now this is your Python, I mean this is a class, this is a class method, class attribute, okay. There is a thing of constructor, okay. Constructor is another concept there is, okay. So constructor is basically another method where you are actually instantiate the class. Means suppose you have created a class, Python class, and then you are creating an object of the class. So that is same thing is like instantiation, okay. But to create the constructor, right, you have to use some default method here, okay. So to create the constructor, the method, the default method that normally you'll use it, or that what we need to use in OOPS is, 1 second. underscore underscore init. Underscore underscore init. Okay, so init method we need to use. Okay, so here let me show you this. So this is my class person. Okay, we created the class person. Okay, and to create that constructor, what you need to do, underscore underscore init underscore underscore self. Okay, so this is what you think. So we created a class person, but this time this class is having a constructor. Okay, and we'll simply print out something here. Simply in 1 second. Print out something here. Okay, class object created, something like that. Okay, we'll print out. Okay, so here what we did, we created a constructor. Okay, and this class is also having other method. So this is a default method. Okay, this constructor, and then it's also having other method, which is stand method. Okay, so here we created an object. Okay, here we created an object. Okay, so what would happen is that, suppose we are not doing anything. Okay, so let me just go here. Okay, and just call this thing here in my screen. So if I am not referencing this to any variable or anything, I'm just creating the object, then it will execute. Whenever you are creating the object, it will by default execute your constructor class, which is a default class, like constructor method I would say, which is the default method, okay, of the class that will be executed. If you want to execute the other class, then you have to give dot, like other methods in that class, then you have to give object name dot method name. Okay, this class method. Okay, that's what you need to do. Okay, okay, do you guys
What
understand this?
does this? Yeah, I have a question. What does this
Yeah, yeah.
self actually does? Like, if we do not give anything else and only self is given, so self, what is it doing?
Self is basically, suppose you are, whenever you are using self, right, it is basically by default, it is like, I would say, it is referencing the thing. Suppose you have some objects here, right? It's not objects. Suppose you have referencing to some variables here, right? Like you are creating some variables here. Let me show you what I mean. Here I will mean, okay? Dog, cat, okay, colon, and then here, if you want to, suppose you are calling this, you're creating the object, right, and you want to execute something that's part of this method, right, class method, right, then what you need to do, you need to do this self, one second, self dot dog equal to frog, dog equal to uh, maybe uh, maybe dog breed, anyway, maybe breed one. Okay, self dot cat equal to maybe cat 2 or something. Okay, so what you are doing here, so whenever you want to do something, right, so like you want to reference any arguments or something, right, so this is how you do it. You have to use self. That's how you need to do that. Okay, so
And
self
like,
is
if we do not give self and just give the arguments in the function like dog and cat, then also like self is the default one and we can use it, or we have to define it.
you don't have to define it, like I would say one thing,
Means,
self is something that's normally passed,
okay.
like what would I say is, whenever you want to like whenever you are inside the class, right, and you want to access the class attributes, right, you want to access the class attributes. Okay, then what you do, you use this class name, right, here these are class, sorry, here we created the class attributes, right, here you will remember, right, person, like name, age, role, right, so those are class attributes, right, so if you want to access the class attributes, right, so you can we can access using the class name, right, but wherever we want to access the instant attributes, right? So these are the instance attributes, okay? Like it's part of the class method. These are instance attributes, okay? So if you want to access this, we have to access using the self keyword. So that's how it is. We have to access using the self keyword, okay? That's how we do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So normally when you do the object-oriented programming, sorry, not normally when you do the storage automation, right, will we not be using the class. These are like internal it will be doing. Will not be mentioning class or anything. We'll just use functions. That's it. We'll import in the things. We just use functions. We'll pass the JSON, either JSON or curl. Okay, JSON is much easier. Okay, and we'll do that. First, I will initially I'll just one in some sentence I'll tell you what is the basic steps like the manual stuff, but not like explain what I was discussing like in the first week, right? Just steps like aggregate creation. So what are the things you need to get and what things you need to do, and then I'll see what are the modules you need to do, and then the functions I'll write, and I will pass the JSON like I'll pass the values using the JSON JavaScript object notification. Okay, like in JSON, like you can pass to the in web apps or anywhere in you can pass the variables or the data using JSON. Okay, so with using JSON only I will do that, and then we'll create something. Okay, like it's very easy to do. It's not that difficult. Okay. So the thing is, Python is not that difficult. The only thing is that we'll not do too much. We'll just do easy things only. Okay, we'll not do like a lot of things. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, and what you need to do is I've shared one document to you guys. You need to just read those things. Okay, you need to read those things. You need to practice it little bit. Okay, and the more you practice, the more better you'll become. Okay, you don't have to know everything. No, you don't have to know everything. You just have to know like little bit of thing you need to know. Okay, about functions, list, tuples, how to unpack variables, all these things. You don't have to know much. Okay, because it's not required actually to know a lot of things. Okay, that is not needed actually, because we are not building anything here. So it is very to do, easy to do, and we don't have to do a lot of things here. Okay, so main thing is you have to just study something, and you have to know this. Main thing is you have to know like functions, different kind of data types, global variable, local variable, all these things, and exceptional handling. Okay, you have to know exceptional handling. So I'll tell you exception handling. Okay, basically whenever you are executing a Python program, right, you can get whenever you are executing it calls runtime. Okay, so during the runtime of the execution of the program, your code might throw some errors. Okay, these are called exceptions. Okay, suppose you are not expecting something. Suppose your code supposed to do something, but due to some issues in your code, it is throwing an exception, it is throwing an error. Okay, these exceptions are nothing but they are also objects, class objects, nothing but they're in objects. Okay, because everything here is objects. Okay, so like Python code, like other programming languages, right? So this is also loosely typed language, so it's not, Python is not tested at runtime. Okay, so the thing is, it might give some runtime error. So for that, what you need to do is to handle the exception, right? So you have to use this try and except block. Okay, like you have to use try and except, these two block you need to use. Okay, try, like suppose the code that you are writing, right, if this or for this whatever code you are doing, right, functions and something classes, you write it here, and then except, then exception means first it will try, if it's good it will run, and if it's not working then your code will handle the exception. Okay, so your code will it will execute, and first it will try the block, and if it is not able to do, then it will execute the except block, and it will type of exceptions that you need, right? So let me show you something to make you understand zero division error or something. I'll show you, one second. This is the easiest one to show. Okay, num1 equal to 10, num2 equal to 0, result equal to num1 divided by num2. Okay, print result type. Okay, see here we got a error, right? Zero division error. Okay, because we cannot really divide any number by 0, right? Okay, so that's what it is. So we are getting a zero division error and our code is just getting interrupted, and this will not help anyone. Okay, so to get to solve these kind of things in NetApp, we use REST API error. That is an exception we use in NetApp, for NetApp. Okay, for the REST API. So here the one that I'm going to use is, suppose you have this code, right? So we'll put it in try block. 1 second. This is a try block. Okay, and then to handle this exception, okay, we have this exception, zero division error. Okay, and here we can write something like print. Okay, why it's coming like except, anyway, no problem, we write it print zero division possible. Okay, so here we're doing try and this. Okay, so that is we're doing here, right? So what you're doing, so here first the code will run this, and here I'm getting an error. Expectation parents may could fix a big problem. 1 second. Try. I'm getting a problem here. What is this? What is this problem is? Not good actually. Second. Exception using all this error here, which is this here. So we have the try block, that is fine. This try block, fine, and then we have this except block, is also fine. Okay. Let me do one more thing. We're not defining a function, right? So let me define a function like division. This function is there. Okay, and here we'll just type this thing. So here we're just gonna type it. I'll close this with parenthesis. Okay, and then probably I'll just, instead of this, I'll just write just a simple thing. I'll write x equal to 1 by 0. Okay, I'll just write it here. Okay, that's it. Simply write it here, x equal to 1 by 0. You do your first integrate of here, sorry. X equal to 1 by 0. Okay, this is not required actually. This is my function. Okay, try equal. Okay, I'll just call the function here div and the next block is here. We'll print it out here, error. Let me just try this. Yeah, you can see here what happened, but this is what happened, right? So suppose there is no error, right? X by 2. Okay, let me just type it out here. You see, nothing came because the error was. Let me clear the screen and show you. So we created a function, division function. Okay, then I'm just dividing 1 by 0, so which will which will give us infinite output, which Python cannot handle. So here this will give the error in runtime, right? So here this will give through an error, but we know the error. So what we are doing, we are handling this error, right? So you cannot divide, or you can see here, like you can print it here. You cannot divide. You cannot divide a number with 0, like this. Okay, just type it out here. Okay, you cannot divide a number with 0. Okay, so that's what thing. So here what you're doing, you are defining a function and then you are putting out like we are dividing by 0, and then we are doing. Okay, if we do not have this block, right, if we do not have this try and except block, right, then this will throw an error during the runtime. One second. This will throw the error during the runtime. If you do not have this try and except block, then it will throw the error during runtime. Okay, so that's what it will do. Okay, and you can do a lot of different things also. Suppose you want to raise exceptions for something, like you want to raise some error or exceptions to occur, right? You can raise exceptions. Okay, suppose you are creating a volume or you are expanding a volume. I'll give you a scenario. You are expanding a volume, but the volume is already having like less than 80% utilized, but your rule in project is that whenever the volume is more than 80% utilized, you should expand it. Okay, you should expand it. So what it will do, it will check and it will raise exceptions. Yes, it will raise exception as the volume is more, is less than 80% full, so no need to expand the volume. So like just giving you an example. Okay, like this. So you can also raise exceptions as per your as per your requirement. You can raise exception also. Okay, so like this you can do. Okay, and also you can handle multiple exceptions, like you have multiple functions and you can have many try and except blocks, and then you can just put it out like different exceptions you can do. Okay, so like that you can do here. Okay, so in Python what you need to do is, in Python, to handle the exceptions, right, in Python we use the REST API code. Okay, in REST API HTTPs, we use the HTTP methods like get, patch, delete, all these things. Okay, and to handle the exceptions, or so that our code does not get broken during the runtime execution, in Python, in Python with REST API for NetApp, what you need to use it, we used to use this exception NetApp, like NetApp REST error. Okay, so this is the one we use. Okay, this also, like to do that also we need to import this module from NetApp_ONTAP, and this will handle the exceptions. Okay, whatever NetApp ONTAP, NetApp ONTAP, REST API, whatever REST API is having the errors, right? So it will be handled by this method, NetApp REST error. So it will do the exception handling for that, okay? So this is what you need to do, okay? Okay, suppose you first initially you will define a function, okay, like this. You'll define a function like, suppose I'm talking like creating a SVM, storage virtual machines, right? So I will create a function. I will pass the variables as vserver name, aggregate name, okay, and then I will pass the JSON, like what would be the vserver name. Like I'll pass a dictionary actually in form of JSON, and then I will mention the key value pairs, like, you know, like name, and then SVM name, okay, which I'll provide, and then I need to provide aggregates, and then aggregate name I'll provide. Or maybe I can have a list also here, list of the dictionary of list also you can have. And then NFS, like if it's like you are creating SVM where you have the NFS v3 or v4 enabled, so you have to give this, okay, like this you have to do. And then you have to create a try block. There what you do, there you have the functions, you have to call the functions there, okay. If it's a post, right, we're trying to create something, we'll use post. If you are trying to just access some variables and print it out, then we'll use get. Or maybe we are trying to, you know, it is creating for the first time, maybe we are trying to update it, then we'll use patch, okay. So this kind of, so this is basically SVM class, and we are using this module there, okay. And then we can like call this in a try block, and there you can print out something, okay, whatever you got executed, and then you can handle the exception using the except block, using, you know, NetApp REST error. This is the one, this is the module actually, the method, okay, for the handling the NetApp ONTAP REST API error codes, okay, as, you know, ARR, okay. And you can print it out here, like what error you are getting, okay. So that will show you. You are expecting that, you know, you are trying to create an SVM is not created. If this is not successful, right, it will not throw an error, it will just throw in an meaningful error which is understandable by anyone, because storage admins are not developers. So it will be executed by us, you know, it will understand, okay, SVM is not created. So we have to again work on our course, we have to understand what other things are there. Please join again, guys. Okay guys, so these are the things normally we do, okay. So every time we have to create the functions or the classes, right, we have to handle the errors, so that our code does not get you know, halt abruptly during the runtime execution, and we get some meaningful errors, so that we understand we have to redo the work and we have some problem. Because to create an SVM, right, you know that you have to have the informations of the vserver name, you have to have the informations of the aggregates, where your root volume will be existing, okay. You have the informations about what the protocol that will allow, all these things you have to have, right, the security style, all these things, okay. So those things you have to pass in the dictionary, you know, you can pass as a dictionary, so you can do that, okay. So this is like creating a thing, right. So we'll be using this post, okay, this post method on the SVM, okay. This SVM, we're creating a like function as SVM, then we use that post method there, okay. And the get method is just to print out something or to get something, just for reading variables, okay. We use this, okay. Guys, do you have any questions before we wrap this one, okay? Because this is enough knowledge of Python that you require to do the ONTAP automation, okay. Because you're not going to read, you know, write any like develop anything, okay. You're just gonna use some dictionaries, list, you create some functions, you'll do exception handling, those things you need to do, okay. You'll use some method like post method, get method, patch method, okay. Yeah. Okay. Guys, do you have any questions?
Dayal, a question here.
Yeah.
Dayal, let's take an example. I have defined a function in one of the script, okay? and I have imported a function to another script. Okay, and I made changes on the original function. Original function will have an impact on the imported one.
You have, yes, it will be, yeah, 100%, because whatever thing is there in the original function, right, that will be imported, right? So it will obviously, if you are suppose trying to reference some variable that you have in the original of the main function, and that does not exist now because you have changed the codes, so it will not work actually. But here we will not create any modules actually, we'll just be referencing the modules, built-in modules, that is having your NetApp, ONTAP, REST API, the built-in modules that will have, we'll just reference to that values. We'll not create our own modules or own classes. We'll just reference them. Okay. The main thing we'll do it, you know, the main thing we'll do, you know, we'll just play with, you know, variables. That's it. We just like data types, dictionaries, list, all these things. We'll not do anything else. Okay. So that's what we do. We'll not create our own classes. We'll not create our own functions. Okay. Got it? I just told you all these things because you will understand what we are doing. But we'll not use that much, we don't need that much knowledge actually. If you know, if you don't know class also, that is, if you don't know oops also, that is fine. Because we'll not use oops here. We'll not use object-oriented programming here, okay? But we use exception handling, all these things we'll do, okay? So I'll tell you, okay? Like we'll use object-oriented programming, yes, but we'll use the built-in objects, built-in classes. We'll not create our own things. Like here we are creating the objects, right? Object of a class, right? Same thing we'll do. But these things will have it, okay? Okay, guys. So
Yeah, so you will provide like at the time when we will do this REST API and all, you will
yeah, yeah.
provide list once
Yes.
again, right?
For
SVM dot post.
for NetApp, Hitachi, Pure, and PowerMax, and nothing else. Because
Yeah,
whatever storage I know, I can provide. Whatever storage I don't know, I cannot help. Like ISLN or HP, IBM, I don't know. I cannot help.
okay.
Okay. So mainly, you know, mainly Ansible is easy, but with NetApp, Python also you can do. It's not a problem. But Ansible is used for other things like PowerMax, Pure, and Hitachi. Ansible.
Okay.
Okay, bro. So we'll have the next class, and I will just go through with the REST APIs, and then we'll create on all the automation. I'll show you how to do that using Python. Then we'll go into the Ansible. Once we show you how to do the Python on NetApp, and then we'll go to Ansible. Okay, for CVO, I'll teach you guys Terraform because we cannot use Ansible for that, and Python will makes it very complex for CVO. Like lot of in CVO, we have to take care about VNets. You know, if it is supposing if it is AWS, right, we have to take care about CIDR, VPC, all these things, right? It will become complicated. With Ansible also little bit possible, but it's difficult actually. With Terraform, it's much more easier. Okay, so we'll talk next week, okay? And I will show you guys to REST APIs, okay? And I will complete this training. It can extend by more time. It's not a problem. And next batch also I'll repeat it, okay? It's not a problem. It got lifelong repeated session will get on automations, okay? Okay, bro. So I'll stop the class here, and we'll do that in next week, okay? And sorry for yesterday I was not able to do that because of some situations. Normally I don't reschedule. I normally never reschedule, but sometimes situation occurs. Okay, sometimes something came up. It's not about project. It was because of some personal reasons, I was not able to do. Yeah, because my project was just light only. Okay, bro.
Okay.
Okay. Chalo, bye, huh? Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a nice day.